welcome to It's Me on Me podcast. I'm your host, Freddie T.
And your girl, Drift Nasty.
We're going to give a reaction to a video by Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly.
If you look at Leah Thomas's social media, Leah Thomas, it appears, has a serious fixation on autogynephilia and gets off, as a man, in dressing as a woman. It's a sexual fetish. And there are plenty of trans people who will tell you that that is a faction of trans people.
Of course.
That's
Ellen
what they
Joyce
get
has
off
an
on.
entire book called Trans in which she talks about autogynephilia.
Exactly, he's amazing. So what we really have is somebody who is in the women's locker room, taking the women's trophies and the women's medals, and getting off on the fact that he is dressed like a woman, immersed with women, and they want the women to get the therapy. That we have crossed the Rubicon now to where formerly tolerant me, don't be so hateful, Dr. Abloh, has become like an activist on this. Get out of our swimming pools, get out of our locker rooms, get off of our track meets, get out. We'll find an accommodation for you. Hopefully you'll get the help you need, but we are not surrendering girlhood or womanhood to you and your mental issues.
The latest poll that I saw from, I believe it was Pew that came out today, was that almost 20% of all people who identify as Gen Z are now saying they're LGBTQ+.
Oh my God.
Almost 20%. And the generation after that, it's going to be 30 or 40%. And so the question becomes, number one, whether have we just reached a genetic bottleneck, or is it possible that a massive social contagion is taking place that is geographically located in blue areas? Again, tends to show is that in the absence of any sort of overriding value system, pathology spreads. I mean, people tend to imitate each other's behaviors. And if a society declares something heroic, you will get more of it. You subsidize particular behavior, you get more of that behavior. It is just that simple. And so what society chooses to subsidize and not subsidize does actually have some pretty serious ramifications.
A lot of this stuff that's going on with the Gen Z and all this weirdo situation, it pretty much is just a bunch of copycats.
It's just people mimicking each other.
Yeah, because every time, if you watch his actual debates where he goes and he's having conversations with groups of people, and then you could come and speak to him, all of them that are transgender who get up to talk to him, if he asks the question of how do you know that you're a woman or what makes you transgender, they don't really have a concrete answer for him. Matt Walsh, when he did his debate, it was the same situation.
I don't believe I said that no one would ever see you as a woman. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that you could fool someone. You wouldn't fool me at all. I mean, I see a man 100%. And I think that most people would. Now, the fact that you have people in your life who are saying to you, oh, you're totally a woman, it's exactly what I'm talking about. No one in my life has ever once said to me, you're totally a man, Matt. The fact that this is a conversation to begin with tells me, it only proves the point that I'm trying to make, that your identity, even in your own mind, is up for, it's something that you need to be assured of. How do you know that you're a woman?
It was first when I heard transgender persons describe their experience in their own words, and this was only about 2 years ago. Hearing somebody describe things, it was a woman from England, describing her experience, her childhood, her teenage years, and it blew my mind to be listening to her, because it was just some podcast that I was listening to while I was doing laundry. But it blew my mind to hear somebody so eloquently and precisely describe things that I had experiences
What
that
was
I
the
had
description?
experienced.
What did they say?
I know that you touched earlier about the difficulty that transgender women might have in describing their identity.
You're saying that you discovered that you're a woman. I'm asking you how you did. That's a very fair question.
Okay.
How do you know that you're a woman?
That's fine. All right. So first of all, listening to transgender people, and it was okay, this is a one-off, one person describing these things. Things like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. Hearing compliments like, you are such an example, a positive masculine role model. And just hearing that and being it feels like they're talking about somebody else. And I never felt like I belonged. I felt welcome and included.
Why does that make you a woman?
Because
as opposed to just a man who doesn't get along with some other men, or a man who's depressed, or a man who doesn't feel at home totally in his body, which, by the way, is a pretty universal human experience. Everybody goes through it at one time or another. So in what way does that make you a woman, though? And it's interesting, you're telling me that you listen to the experiences of other transgender people.
Well, yeah.
But what about women?
So
Because trans women are women, you would say, right?
I would say that, yes.
Exactly the same?
Yes.
Okay, well then why do
Well-
you need to hear the testimony of trans, quote unquote, trans women? Like how you pick any actual woman in this room? In what way do you know that you belong in the same category as them?
I know because they tell me. So here was the
You need them to tell you what you are?
women. Yes. I trust the opinions of the women around me.
And if most women-
It's incredible. You might try it sometime.
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman, would you say I'm not a woman anymore?
I would say most people on the planet have no idea who I am. I'm going to trust the opinions of the people who've spent their lives with me.
You know that you're a woman.
Yes.
What is that?
So gender is a social thing. It only
I don't want
makes
to hear
sense
that. What
in
is a
so-
woman? What
No.
is a woman?
What is a woman?
The word woman, define in the dictionary. Go.
A woman is somebody who is included and respected and seen and participates in society, recognized by other women.
As a matter of fact, whenever he keeps pressing for the answer, that's when you start hearing more of, oh, well, I heard somebody else's story, and then that story made me realize, oh my God, I'm a transgender too. So it's just weak-minded people who are easily swayed. And then all of a sudden that becomes a trend. Well, then everybody likes to follow these trends. That's the same thing with the rappers, right? Everybody's wondering what's going on with the gang violence and all that stuff. When you make it cool in the music and then everybody sees that, they start to mimic that also.
And so the breakdown of the intermediate institutions of society, here I talk about church or family, that's going to devastate this entire generation. There was a study that came out recently suggesting that young girls are now at the highest risk of suicide that they've ever been at, so far as they're aware. It's something like 37% or 30% of girls actively considered suicide. Those numbers are crazy. And people are asking why, and the answer is, well, maybe because you don't give them any guidance on how to become women. You obliterated the category of woman, and then you give them no guidance on how to get there. And then you say that what's going to make you happy is to be on social media all day comparing yourself to others. And all of the institutions where you used to socialize, I mean, this is an important part of bringing up a kid. As our society becomes parent-free, as people don't have kids, all the values go down the drain because you actually have to get serious about life once you have kids. And you start looking at how hard it is to civilize a child and how terrible small children are and what it takes to make them into adults. You realize that kids, what they actually want is stability. What they want is a role. Well, my boy, who's 6, wants to do when he grows up, I asked him what he wanted to do, and he said, I want to be a daddy. He said, that's what I want. And if you ask my daughter, like, what would you want to be when you grow up? She would say, a mommy. And so I talked to them at this age about, like, so who in your class do you want to marry? Do they have any concept of what that means? No, but the idea is this is the social expectation, and it is a good social expectation. Yeah. We've now entered a world in which we believe that placing social expectations on our kids is somehow a negative, it's bad, that kids ought to be free. There should be no social expectations of them. I totally disagree. I think social expectations for kids are a wonderful thing. I think it's the thing that makes them into adults. Kids are uncivilized. You civilize them. This is what it means to raise a child.
You know, this is like what I was talking about last time, that the first thing they tried to do was destroy the whole family dynamic. Mm-hmm. What he says is what all of us used to say when we were kids. We wanted to grow up. We wanted to be dads. We wanted to be moms. We wanted to play that traditional role.
You wanted to have a husband.
Yeah, you wanted to have a husband. Hell, you'd see little girls say, "Oh, that's my husband. That's my boyfriend." You don't see that anymore. Half of these little kids don't know whether they want to be male or female, whether they want to be known as him or her, want to be a human being or an animal, because at the end of the day, there's no guidance. What's there is that everybody just wants to follow what's cool.
It's just a free-for-all. There's no guidance on how the structure of a child is supposed to be. Like how you're saying, like, if you have a boy, then you're supposed to be structuring him to become a man. Mm-hmm. If you have a girl, you're supposed to structure her to become a woman. Whenever you have a free-for-all and you're just like, oh, well, you pick whatever and do whatever, well, their little mind doesn't even understand what you're talking about. They don't understand what's going on.
Probably.
How are they supposed to make such a big decision like that?
Fathers say they want their boys to be little girls, and mothers saying they want their little girls to be boys. You know, it's just so confusing. The parents are confused, so what makes you think the kids ain't confused?
Yeah, like it's a mix of society failing the kids and the parents, honestly, because y'all supposed to stand firm and raise your kids how you want them to be raised. You're supposed to look out for their best benefit. not go along with what everybody else is saying or telling you how you're supposed to be with your kids. Nobody else should be telling you how to raise your kids. You should be able to raise your kids. And then you got these irresponsible people out here who are also, like I said, jumping on the bandwagon. Really, you're getting your fame and recognition online through your child, and it's disgusting.
The lady claimed she had 2 non-binary kids. She had 2 trans kids. That's what she said.
She had a daughter and a son.
A daughter and a son that were trans. And if it wasn't the biggest load of crap I'd ever seen in my life, they say the older one decided that she wanted to be trans at 10 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And then the younger one decided at 3. Of course, the younger one's gonna decide that because she sees the other one being given all the attention, and she wants the same attention that the other one's getting. So why?
The little girl wanted to be a boy, and then all of a sudden the little boy wants to be a little girl.
Yeah.
And that's how they want to raise them up. There's something about that that's just kind of sick and twisted. Like, I don't understand where you would think that you're looking out for your child's best benefit of that. And the whole time that, the kids are growing up and going through that, they're in the limelight of a camera. And for the parents, it has nothing to do with the kids.
Online, they over here telling kids that you should be trans, you should be this.
Yeah, they don't have anywhere to meet kids except for at school, and then they're shoving that down their throats too. At school, they're talking about trans and things. Sex ed is being taught to elementary schools, which has no business being in an elementary school. And then you're throwing in these confusing details and these confusing topics that these little kids can't wrap their mind around. They're absorbing it and don't know what to do with it. He's mentioning how little girls are having higher suicide rates. It's because they're confused. They don't know. They already have the struggle of, other kids picking on kids. You know how kids are. They're just mean like that. They already have the struggle of coming up and then thinking, oh, well, I'm supposed to be this way because this kid is telling me that I should look this way, or I should dress this way because this kid is telling me I should dress this way. Now you got society and your parents and the school shoving down your throat, oh, well, you could be another gender if you want to, and they're so confused. It's kind of sad that even children who are just starting life and really shouldn't have any troubles like that on their shoulders whatsoever are actually contemplating self-deletion than having to put up with it. I just really pray that parents out there really realize what they're doing to their kids. Y'all see what's going on with the kids. Don't worry about how the society is telling you that you're supposed to be. Take your kid into consideration. Pay attention to them.
If they didn't need raising, you wouldn't have to raise them. And so I think parents have abdicated this duty almost completely. And this is why people ask me if I'm optimistic ever. And I say, well, as a religious person, yes, because the religious will inherit the earth. We're the only ones who are having children at this point. But also, the only people who have a durable set of values are the ones who are going to be passing those on to their kids.
Yes, I did go to church. My parents made us go to Catholic church, and I did all the, confirmation in their community, all the stuff. But one of the so I'm there, I believe in God, and I believe in the Catholic teachings, but I'm not devout. But one of the main reasons that we go to church every Sunday is the very things you're talking about. Shared values, shared community, reminding my children there's something bigger and more important than them. They're part of a bigger social fabric, and these are the values. Part of the benefit of sitting in that pew every Sunday is reinforcement of values. Who matters? God. Who matters? Your mom and dad. If you need advice, who do you go to? One of those 3, right?
Yeah.
It's great to have somebody who they respect, who they see as an authority figure, up there saying all the same things that we are saying back at home. I don't think Kim Kardashian is an evil person in her heart. It's not about whether she intends evil. Just the other day, Jocko Willink, famed Navy SEAL, like the baddest badass ever, put out a short little video on Instagram, and it basically said, I want to talk to 13, 15, 17-year-old boys. And he said, and I made my boys watch this, and he said, I don't know if anybody's telling you what to do. What we're supposed to do at 13. He said, work out. Put on some muscle, learn how to fight, any kind of fight, martial arts. Be able to defend yourself if you need it. Don't drink or do drugs. Those things are bad for you. Improve your mind by reading a book. That's good for you. He's like, I'm not sure if anybody's telling you that. Now, in my family, we are telling the children that, but a lot of families, they're not. So that's Jocko. And then you got Kim Kardashian, who is, look at my ass. Look at my boobs and look at me. And don't bother listening to me. Just look at me. I can't stand what she's doing to our culture. It's not just her, it's really her whole family. But just that general personality and the messaging to our daughters in particular that all of it's real. That's 100% my actual ass. And the sex tape, which is how she got famous without actually owning it, all of it is so abhorrent to me. And it's exactly the opposite of Jocko Willink, all of the wrong inputs into our children. To the point where my daughter and her friend were over and somebody asked me whether the makeup I had was Kim Kardashian, and the other one's like, well, who's Kim Kardashian? I said, I do not wish to be the person who introduces that person into your life.
And that is a lot of what's wrong with the women in today's society. You hear it with the rappers, pretty much anything that's going on in the public eye. It's pretty much all about how you look and how to use what you've got to get somewhere. It's not that you actually have to use your brain. It's not that you actually have to be a parent and instill values and morals in your kids. It's, oh, well, show your daughter how to shake her ass so that she can make some money. That's not what women were made to do, and it's not what you should be teaching your kids, because it's not going to stop there with your kids, because when you instill that in your daughter, then your daughter will instill that in her daughter, and then it just keeps going.
Right now, everybody's talking about body counts, body counts, body counts. That's what matters, right? But the funny thing is, just a few years ago, y'all were pushing that the sexual freedom, everybody should do this. So obviously, if everybody's doing what they were pushing a few years ago, body counts are going to be high. The majority of people's body counts are not in one hand. Let's be for real. Mm-hmm. Half of these guys, half of these girls who come out here talking all this trash, they're not. And then the funniest part is, like, even half of the red people guys you see who push that they want a girl with low body counts, right? The girls that they end up with don't have low body counts. All those Instagram models that they date don't have low body counts.
Date, and that they strive to date, even if they couldn't do it. Those are the kind of girls that you want to end up with, and those girls get picked the most. They're the prettiest. They're going to get ran through the most. And that's how you end up with women who want to be Kim Kardashians. You're kind of shaming women for following through with the values that you put in them. You set low values, you set a low bar, you told them, oh, well, it's all about if you look good, then you can get by. Oh, well, if I take you out on a date and I spend money on you on this date, oh, well, then you better put out on that first date. Don't make me wait type of thing. But then be the same men who say you want somebody who hasn't been touched. It doesn't work like that.
And realistic, let's be for real, half of those guys that say all that crap, it sounds good, but majority of the women they end up marrying or being in a relationship with, they know the girl will tell them, oh, I've only ever been with 4 guys or 7 guys. Maybe 1% of them are telling the truth. A lot of them aren't.
It's being pushed on you through the music and music videos and all that. Just about everybody over the age of 17 getting to where they're in the teens. Their body count is in the teens. So it's like you can't put that expectation on people. It's not realistic.
Right, but these are the battles we're fighting. There are role models, both positive and negative.
I mean, this is also, I think, one of the, I keep coming back to the Robert Nisbet point that you destroy the intermediate institutions and you destroy everything. That the people who are looked up to, like, I'm glad there are people like Jocko or people like Jordan Peterson, people who are actually speaking to young men. But when I was growing up and people said, who do you look up to? Who are your heroes? The people I always said were my parents. It was always like my dad, my mom, maybe a couple of teachers who had helped me along the way. It was never some person who was very, very famous. Right. And because we've changed the metric of success to be fame, what that means is that people are constantly seeing themselves and thinking about themselves. Just stop thinking that everyone has their eyes on you at all time, or that the goal of life should be fame. I mean, this is I think the greatest lie that anybody has ever told, or one of them, is that fame is innately a good thing.
You see all these kids on TikTok misbehaving, acting an ass, saying all sorts of embarrassing things, and we say, oh, that's cute, or we put likes on it, or we amp it up, or we say, oh, that's what's up. But at the end of the day, we all know if that was your kid, you'd be embarrassed like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I would fire on you, but you know what? Don't even stress. Because when I catch you off bounds, nigga, it's O for you. And if I catch you off duty, O for you too. And y'all think I was still in there? You just look so dumb right now. Tase me. I promise you, on my mama, nigga, you gonna have to tase me until I scream, nigga. Or you gonna have to kill me something, nigga, because you gonna have to force me, nigga. No, because you look dumb. No. Look, grandma, that's my grandma right there. They think I was stealing. They look dumb. No. Think I was stealing, nigga. I ain't take shit, nigga, on my soul, nigga.
Stop talking.
Get your badge number.
Dewan.
No. Don't tell me nothing, Grandma.
That's the type of stuff that you have to correct, because otherwise your son is going to end up dead. He's going to get shot by police.
If he ain't dead, he's going to end up locked up for life. All because nobody is willing to actually reprimand him for what he's doing.
Yeah, he doesn't have a sense of when to stop. So he feels like he can talk to anybody any kind of way he wants, whether it be his parents, his teacher, or police officers. You have to correct your son, or your son is going to end up dead. So I mean, that's what I say. Like, some of this stuff is a little overboard. Y'all just be letting these kids act any kind of way they want to, and then wonder why you end up with places like Chicago. Moral of the story is that kids don't need to be exposed to these things. It shouldn't be pushed on us to accept things that are abnormal and pretend like they are normal.
There's no reason that kids are being taken to drag shows. There's no reason that kids are being told, pushed to have reassignment surgery, to choose whether they're lesbian or straight or whatever at the age of 6, 7 or whatever on TikTok, or to be told that you should really think of calling yourself this. That when we were growing up, that was not a conversation that anybody had at that age. We didn't think about that crap. When we were 6, 7 years old, we just thought about going to have fun outside. We looked up to our parents. I know at the end of the day, I wasn't over here looking up to Gucci Man or Lil Nas X or
any of them.
Majority of celebrities, like a good chunk of them, let's say 80, 70% of them, are freaking weirdos.
Mm-hmm. And then wondering how we ended up in this mess. And then honestly, I say, because I myself am a millennial, and everything going on with Gen Z is 100% our fault. We can't blame anybody else because we raised those kids. Gen Z is our prodigy. And instead of instilling in them what our parents instilled in us, we went into this whole mentality of, I'm going to give my child everything I couldn't have had. Everything that I didn't have, I'm going to provide for my...
That's not a wrong thing, though.
No, it is. It is, and here's why. Because when you have that mentality of, I'm going to give my kids everything that my parents... like, everything that I didn't have, that my parents didn't give me, well, now you've taken out the value of hard work. You've took out the whole need and understanding that you have to have ambition in order to earn those things. Nothing was handed to us in millennials. Well, so we shouldn't be handing things to the Gen Z. They need to be working for things. Our parents instilled in us things that mattered, instilled in us things to help us to progress in life, and now they have nothing better to do with their time than to sit online and look at these things and then mimic what they see because they're not busy enough to do anything else. It's just like what you were saying with the trophies. Did you have to compete for a trophy?
Yeah, you did.
You had to compete for a good spot on football?
And that's the problem. The problem is that...
But we went from that to, okay, well, I want my son or my daughter to know that they can have anything they want in life. And it's not true. You have to work for something. And you're not going to be good at everything. You can't do everything.
Well, I blame it on the fact that as time has gone on, everybody has come to this thing of, well, you can't expect me to teach a person. You can't expect me to do... When we were growing up, we were always taught that you get your religion, your traditions, or whatever from who?
Your parents.
Okay. Now, these days, majority of these kids and parents that are out there, majority of the parents you see out there, these young parents, they don't have tradition because they went through this phase where they felt like they wanted to do everything anti what their parents were doing.
But that's where the millennials come in.
Yep. And then the problem that's there is when they did that, then they didn't want to take... Everybody was too busy trying to be their kid's friend than being an actual parent.
Exactly.
And now you got a whole bunch of kids that raise themselves and they don't know how to be parents. So.
And that ties into it too, the whole raising themselves. Why do they have to raise themselves? Because you took an oath to yourself that you're going to provide everything for your child that you didn't have. You want to make sure your kid will never want for anything. Well, guess what happens? Because everything went up. Inflation is insane. Mm-hmm. One job ain't going to cut it to make that happen. So then you have to sacrifice your time with your child. You have to sacrifice you actually raising your child and leave it in the hands of other people like the state to raise your child while you go out and work and bust ass to bring home whatever it is that your son or daughter wants.
I can say, because when I was growing up, my parents were students, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my sister, we only have a 4-year gap. I remember being 4 years old. My sister was 8. Would come back, and then I remember going to kindergarten, and me and my sister would come back, and we knew our parents were in class. So what we'd do is, we knew not to talk to strangers. We knew to just open up the apartment, get dropped off by the bus, walk in, open the door, come in, lock all the doors, don't answer the door for nobody. And my sister would make me lunch, and she'd make me dinner, and I would shower, she would shower, and go to bed. We all knew what we were supposed to do.
But listen, y'all were immigrants. Were your parents strict?
Our parents were strict.
All right, and did you not just say that now the main point of parents is to be their friend and not be their parents?
And that's the problem. The problem is that they know
It's
expectations from the kids. Nobody expects their kids to do better, expects their kids to behave better.
They don't have time. You don't even have time to enforce anything on them if you wanted to be a strict parent, because you both got to be out working in order to make sure that your son and daughter has everything handed to them.
Plus, at the same time, the parents are also scared of their own kids.
And don't struggle. For some reason, everybody thought it's been put in your brain that the struggle is bad. I'm sorry, but the struggle is what makes people strong. The struggle is what made us what we are.
But also, people are scared of their kids.
Well, yeah, that too. But I mean,
because people won't discipline the bad behavior.
Friend.
They won't discipline the bad behavior because they're scared. Oh, well, if I discipline my kid, they're gonna yell here. People, if I discipline my kid, they're gonna call child services on me.
My mama told me that, and I joked around with her and told her that I don't think it was DCF. I think I said something along the lines of the cops or something. And she told me the whole time I'm on the phone, she's gonna be whooping my ass till they got there. Obviously, I wasn't serious. I would never call the cops on my mom, but like I just said it in a joke, and she let me know.
It's the fact that kids these days they're that comfortable that they would do it,
and that comes from the parents wanting to be their friends. Y'all are not wanting to be actual parents. You're not trying to guide their life. You're not trying to instill in them anything. You're not trying to discipline them. Discipline is part of raising a child. That's part of creating structure.
Teaching them what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the schools worked hand in hand with the parents. But these days, it's like the parents against the schools and the schools against the parents. Hell, your kid decides that they want to be called Lucy at school. And,
they won't even tell you about it.
Well, young Kevin wants to be called Lucy at school. They won't tell you, but then after a while, they'll call child services and say that he's in a non-queer friendly household, and they'll try and take your kid away.
Which is so weird. How is it that they're enforcing things on people that are out of the norm? And then again, like I'm blaming it on society, but at the same time, like we have to step back as this generation, as millennials, and blame ourselves. Take accountability from where we lack. Realize that. Grass isn't always greener on the other side. Moms, I understand that you want to get out and you want to help make money, but you need to be home raising the kids so that this isn't the kind of stuff that you have to deal with. 20% of Gen Z is LGBTQ+. You fall in somewhere in that category. Schools sitting up here teaching that pedophile is a slur word and we're to call them MAPs, minor attracted persons, and that there's nothing wrong with an adult having sexual relations with a 5-year-old, quote unquote. Yeah, no, that's not the type of world that I want to live in. That's not the world that my kid's gonna come up in.
It's like we gave up, and we just kind of just said, you know what, we
forfeited your power.
Yeah,
take it back.
And now we are over here just going with the mediocrity that is society.
Do better. If not for yourself, then for your children. We got to do something. And again, like millennials, you got to take a long, hard look at yourself. Because every conversation I have with a millennial, we make sense. We sound like we talking sense when we talking to each other. Instill that in your kids. You cannot be their friend.
But that's the part that weirds me out, because you speak to millennials and they all say the same thing. But then you look at what they're producing and you're like, what's really going on? Where did disconnect happen.
You have to bring back some kind of tradition. You can't be woke all your life. It doesn't work like that. You can't have a functioning household, much less a functioning life and society, without having structure, without a right and wrong. Everything is not right. You do not have to accept everything. You have to put your foot down. If you just leave it up in the air for, oh, well, they'll figure it out later in life. No, instill it in your kid today. While they're young and their minds are still sponges because they're absorbing all this crap the whole time that you're not giving them anything to absorb. That was our take for today. Thank you for coming back to this Beyond Me podcast. Again, it was your girl Drift Nasty.
And Freddie T. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.